My name's Chad, and I bought a fixer-upper, and I am overdue to make a video. Um, I may someday find time to sit down and edit a bunch of these smaller ones together, but until then, this is what you get. So, yeah, since I have showed y'all what's going on, and many folks know that my parents came out a couple weeks ago now to help as I try to clean, move things out the way. We were able to get this big bad boy up. Come on, light. Anyway, this big 3.5 by 12-inch beam runs completely under the entire east half of the house and corrects the floor sagging up there. It is secured in place with these rather beefy joist hangers, as well as several 6-inch GRKs through the backside, the washer head type. It rests over here on a metal header that I have fabricated for the house. And if I could figure out how to get the lighting right, because I need enough to film. Anyway, it spans the entire length across these 3 windows, going to the studs outside, and at each end it has 2 jack studs, underneath, as well as king length studs in between. There we go. The window frame, and I need to shim it and make sure that we have contact, but that is how we are moving all of this weight. Probably the biggest, coolest thing we did was this header. We were scratching our heads about how we were going to support this far end of this beam, because this is carrying a massive amount of weight, and underneath it, directly underneath it, is another header, really non-ideal header. I can go into why that is later, but and talking to folks from work and just kicking ideas around, we decided that it would be best if we just built, and I'm going to turn the phone here, one header to go over the entire open section that we're eventually going to need to have. So if you remember the drawings, I want to put a French door here, approximately. I need to set the exact location and then frame it, but I want to put the French door here, and then that would need a header as well. And not to mention that when there was a window here originally and a door here originally, they didn't frame it correctly, so there was going to be repairs we'd have to make anyway. So we thought, just rip it out and put a big 2x12 in. So this is double faced 2x12 with a half-inch OSB spacer, which is what we're used to doing, and I've nailed it in at least every 12 to 16 inches. And on the far end here, we've got a very massive stud assembly underneath it, which goes down directly to the not the rim joist, it's the board that runs right on top of the wall, and so it's directly on stone, and it makes me feel much better. I am still living upstairs, so we still do need the plumbing. Getting this beam in meant we had to take the old plumbing out, so we took it out and then we replaced it with this new stuff. Still temporary. It's all going to go away by the time the build is finished, but it's really good. Working well, and a lot easier this time. I haven't messed with these too much. They need to be brought, these new floor joists, they need to be brought into alignment and sistered into the existing floor joist. And then I still have a lot of damage up here, which you can probably see some of if I'm very good at my camera work. And so I'd really just like to tear the old, especially the ones that don't go the whole distance, just tear them out and put new stuff in. But that's going to take me a little while. Really gotta noodle my way through it, think very carefully, and move cautiously, so it's not been a huge rush. The assembly is the same, with the same joist hangers, the same nail pattern, the same screw pattern here. Although I put the screws into the face instead of through the opposite side, so you can see I've got 2 GRKs on each side. And anyway, yeah, the stud assembly is intended to bear that whole weight. I did the calculations. I tried to find an engineer. Couldn't find an engineer. I'll probably have to dig one up and come back through before I wrap it all up and make sure it's all okay. But did the calculations and it should work. This is another stud assembly under one of the posts. We also wanted to keep these beams from twisting, so we went up the outside of each beam. I still have a couple more to do. I'm gonna take my finger now so I can focus, but went around the outside of the beam and put another bookend stud there to keep it from twisting, and nailed and screwed it all in. Similar situation here, except it's on a leveling post in case I need to level it. I may eventually take this out if I don't need it. I was originally going to do these red posts under everything because they're very well rated for what I need, but they're a little more trouble than I was thinking they would be. So maybe I'll leave the one here that I have and not worry about it. But similar situation on the other end of that beam. We've got a short header. This will cover the door into the pantry, which is framed back there. I can get through this maze of supports. You can see that's going to be the pantry, accessible off the kitchen. And we thought, why not just do the same thing? We'll just make another 2x12 header and have it span the area that needs to be spanned, because again, there was a door. You can see the very side of the door here. There was a door here to a bathroom they built, and of course they didn't frame that correctly, so it was going to have to be repaired anyway. On this wall, we took that window out last fall, and we've put a stud assembly in with the anti-twist bookend there. What I'm working on now, I'm going to go down in the basement and show you. Okay, so I'm in the basement, and directly under that window is a basement window, and so the intent here is to fill this in with masonry, right? Fill it in with stone and mortar and build it back up to that point up there, that 2x that's on this side of the insulation, which I'm pretty sure is the sill plate. That's the word I'm looking for earlier, sill plate. So been doing some cleaning. I've drilled these holes and put this bonding agent in and ran this rebar in, and I want it to set, and I have to mix up a bunch of mortar and haul it over here and get it put in place. Lucky for me, there's plenty of stone left from the house because they liked to put it up, I think I mentioned early on, as kind of a primitive insulation and anti-twist measure on the floor joist. So all of this, the floor joist bays around the basement have got this masonry. I call it infill. I don't know what else to call it, but I've got plenty. I ripped plenty out because I was cleaning out stud bays from upstairs, you might remember, a while ago, to make sure I could get my framing in. So I got a big pile of it outside. I got plenty more. Good stuff. Yeah, and I don't like the way these windows are framed. Pulling apart the other one, it was pretty obvious that water intrusion was bad. It had eaten a lot of the mortar. And because the owners, past owners of the house didn't really care for it properly, there's a lot of plant life allowed to grow up next to the foundation. So there's a fairly good chance, especially under this one here, that the mortar in the wall has been eaten and replaced by roots. Stone foundation. So this is a basement window opening that was originally, when I started on it today, encased in some wood. The reason I'm taking this out is because this has to become a wall, because right above us, actually right above this, there is a load-bearing beam, and it can't just sit out in the middle of nowhere in thin air like the old owners and builders would do. So what I'm going to show you here is that I have taken up most of this first Well, not first, probably last, I guess, when they put it down. But this run of stone, the stone is quite good. It's still intact, but the mortar has decayed. Part of the reason some of the mortar has decayed is because plants have grown their roots into the foundation. I've taken the vacuum and removed the bulk of the rotted mortar and debris, but you can still see the root that is grown into the foundation. And this particular foundation is built, I think, in two pieces. On your left here is the bulk of the load-bearing element, and then on the right is more of a facade. Even though they are tied together, I do see metal tying them together, and that's good. But what concerns me also is that this outer track, and I don't know masonry terms, but this outer pile is primarily the load-bearing wall. So right above it is the sill plate that all of the structural elements come down on. So that's super fun. I should clarify, I did not expect the mortar to be entirely intact, and a lot of it is in the most important places, so that's good. But I'm just irritated that the previous owners neglected the property so much and let the plants grow so close to the house. You really need at least 4 or 5 feet of clearance, and I love trees, I love plants. I wish I could just build a house in them, but when you're building with this kind of material, you're gonna degrade it, you're gonna destroy it if you let the plants get too close. And replaced by roots. So it's on my list of things to do, but eventually when we go around to all of the basement windows and replace them, it's gonna be some work to make sure it's good and solid when it goes in. Okay, so this is another post we put in, one that actually is needed, because that beam assembly upstairs, that post under that beam assembly kind of comes down right on this mess. So I'm going to be working to clean this up and actually make this nice and sturdy and reliable. I'm sure it's fine the way that it is, but I would just really prefer solid infill with some beefy timbers. I've got plenty of offcuts from the beams. I've got access to other stuff. I don't see why I shouldn't, because this cobbled up crap makes me upset. So anyway, when that window is done and when that cobbled up stuff is fixed, then I feel pretty good about taking out the posts, taking out the jacks, taking the weight off that assembly downstairs that goes to the basement floor, and letting it rest on this post and beam assembly. I do have one more floor joist that needs to be corrected because it is just an absolute hack job. So I got to get up in there. I got to take this back to my beam and replace it with a fresh timber, and I'd like to sister it too, since it just makes me so nervous. But when that comes down and gets replaced, then I'll feel pretty good about taking this temporary support out. Then I can finish removing the carpet, and then we can talk about either the plumbing and the electrical, or we can talk about the floors. So learned a lot about the floors over the last several months. Love to tell you about them. I think a lot of it is salvageable. I did damage some of it in correcting the second floor sag, and there's also water damage extensively across this floor. So maybe it's salvageable, maybe it's not, but it's something to look into, and you can stay tuned for a future video on that. The very last thing I think I owe anyone an update on is just generally this house I originally bought on a construction loan. It was a 3-year balloon loan, which is expiring in July. So I am going to be refinancing that with the bank. And right now the big question is, how much do I put on the loan versus how much do I try to pay out of pocket? And so I'm going to be working with the bank to see my options there, and I'll keep you posted. If I get approved for a big fat amount, this project could go really, really fast because I'd like to get some professionals in here. I can run wire, I can wire outlets. That's not hard. I know how to do it, but an electrician can do it a lot faster and a lot better than I can. Same thing with plumbing. I know how to crimp PEX and I know how to run PEX. That's not that hard. I know how to secure it. I know how to make connections. It's not that hard. I know how to run. Well, you guys can see our handiwork with the temporary drains. I know how to run drains. I may not know how to run them right, but I know how to run them. But getting a plumber in would make sure it's all correct, make sure it's efficient, make sure it's relatively quick, and it would get this project moved along so much faster. So that's kind of an ambition, but we'll see what the numbers say and if I can afford it. Kind of a last thing I think worth talking about is I bought some material to correct the front porch. It's very springy, like a trampoline, which is not good for porches. So it was under there to fix the front steps and could see why. And it's a pretty easy fix. So I've got the stuff for it. I just need to crawl under there and get her done. I'll do that when I finish up the steps because they're just temporarily done right now. One more thing that we did when my dad was here, switch the camera there, was to put in this wall, and it's not done. I need to finish it. But this wall can help bear the weight of the stair assembly, which is above it and was previously unsupported. Well, that's not exactly true. So there was originally a wall here. I'm very confident there was a wall here originally. And then when they did the conversion, they converted that, they took out that stairwell and they converted the thing into a closet. So there were load-bearing members down here that was keeping the stairs from falling down. They didn't have nothing. But it's not been level for a long time. You can see it based on how much how much stuff they crammed in to try to level out the stairs. And yeah, it's just... yeah, much rather have the wall there than what they had. So working on that. But priority is to get that window filled in. And with the window filled in, I think the major structural stuff on the house is fixed. You may remember me talking about how this floor is sagging. I'm pretty confident I know why. You'll remember that underneath this is a doorway to a space that they added, I think probably 20 or 30 years after the house was originally built. So originally that wall you see there was the outside wall of the house. I think about 20 to 30 years after they built the house, they added that back area, which was intended as a sleeping porch and kitchen and bathroom. Because that's where a lot of cast iron plumbing was. That's where the gas lines ran to. That's where the water damage was. And so then I think probably 30 years after that, the owners did the conversion to multifamily, and nobody ever really made sure that door down there was done right. So the top of the door header is about 2 inches lower than the adjacent bottom of the adjacent floor joists. So there's about 2-inch sag here. And it's pretty noticeable, and it's really kind of uncomfortable, but it's structurally sound. And so I thought, well, pushing up 2 inches of space on that header, and then correspondingly under me where I'm standing, the other header over the other doorway, just sounds like a lot of really dangerous, unnecessary work. And I think what I can do is take this floor up. A lot of it's damaged anyway and would have to be patched anyway, and rebuild the subfloor so that it's level, like I did with the bathroom in the back. So I'd cut furring strips to go under the OSB. That would result in a level floor, and then I can build on the top of that with the flooring that I want to use. So that is what I intend to do. And as I said a bit ago, getting the water damage sorted out on these floors. I don't know if this material is recoverable or if it's permanently beyond hope. But I want to run a drum sander over it before I try to decide, and that's going to be months and months and months away. So we're getting there. I have my layouts. I'm happy with my layouts. I have my utilities planned. I'm happy with my utilities. I have an electrician who I think can help. I need to find a plumber who can help. It's a really busy time of year to grab someone, so it's been a little tough. But if I could get that sorted out, we could really make a lot of progress.